Knights. Noise. Alright, we're live. Hey, we're live. Alright, we are live. We're good. We're here with Viega. HVAC KNIGHTS. Hey, where's our Knights chants? Can we get some Knights? Alright. HVAC KNIGHTS booth here live. Podcast with Viega. Show up.
All right. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, but I just wanted to know we were here. All right. So, hey guys, introduce yourself.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to HVAC KNIGHTS. As Jake already formally introduced us to the whole section over here.
Yeah, they were looking.
Yeah, we're here with a special guest. How do you want to do the...
You want to sing it? You want to do the tune? Is that what you guys said?
You could sing it.
Do you want to sing along? Everybody knows the Elvis song, right? Viva Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas.
Well, it's Viega Las Vegas. Viega Las Vegas. Anybody?
Your solo sounds beautiful.
Viva! All right. So, we got Viega here.
Yeah.
We're going to go over everything and anything we can about what you guys are doing. Changing the game.
Changing the game. Yeah.
All right. I love it. Fire away.
So we're here with Viega, which does a lot of, the Pro Press. You do a lot of stuff for the HVAC, more so up north, I would say, right? Like a lot of the boiler systems and, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start with, Jake?
All right, so let's get into what Viega does. Like what pressing stuff they're gearing towards. So my assumption was like water and not fully and gas. That those are the two that I'm thinking when I think of Viega.
So the most common that you're going to be looking at are probably going to be focused around that. Exactly.
Okay.
But we boast over 2,500 plus applications for all of our products across all lines. So all of our Pro Press is probably most popular in potable water usage. You're going to see it mostly in your general plumbing operations. But we have our mega press lines, which go both carbon press as well as stainless steel. And again, all the applications that we carry, like you can see that stuff pretty much across the we have a ton of different plastics offerings as well. So we have Pure Flow. That's what our plastic is. It's just a PEX B. We offer it both in standard for standard plumbing, but also in oxygenated. So we have a barrier PEX as well.
Nice. Love it. Is there any room for expansion into like specifically like refrigerant, like HVAC, fittings, like, working on these A2Ls and things like that?
So the story that I always tell is that there has been a fitting before in which ACR was a focus, and it wasn't up to the Viega standard. So the company as a whole has a very heavy standard in trying to be as close to perfect as physically possible.
Love it.
And like my specific position, I operate out of our location in Manaway, Ohio. So it's a production facility and also training. And in that facility, you see it firsthand exactly how we focus on trying to produce fittings to the as close to perfect as possible situation we with fittings, right? So for the ACR fitting, they were originally focusing in on attempting to get away from the minimum amount of leakage because there is an allowable amount that we were meeting. And that's not how we operate.
We don't want any amount. How about that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
They
I
went
like
back to
that.
the drawing board with the intention being to make the fitting, again, as close to perfect as physically possible. And outside of that, I don't know very much because they don't tell us anything.
What is the
I would just
minimum?
tell all of you.
Yeah. Hey, he said it's coming. He's a quarter Q2, right?
And that's part of the problem is they'd immediately be like, that guy right there said it.
What is the minimum allowable leakage?
I don't actually know the answer.
I would love to. Like, it's funny that you hear that because everybody, when we press, right?
Yeah.
And people are like saying, they're like, well, that's just going to fail in a matter of, and you're just like, well, I'm just here to have a good time, man. Pressing's cool, right?
We try it out and we see how it does. That's the only way we can do it.
Yeah.
And you won't know until you try it out. That's
So,
basically how you do it.
It's funny
Now,
that he
there's
does
been
that.
testing. There's the burst tests that I'm sure you guys do,
Mhm.
rated for so many PSI. Do you have any of those numbers off the top of your head?
So for our ProPress, we're looking at like a 300 maximum capacity and a 200 operating capacity. And the reason that we have a distinction there is because obviously there's a surge in pressure. We want to make certain there's extra protections in place. But generally speaking, we tend to try and that's just with air, obviously. Our hydronic is about 600 PSI.
Okay.
Generally speaking, we tend to say application specific. In fact, it's one of my favorite things to say ever when I do training is application specific, because it basically means it depends entirely on the media that's inside of it. I will say that operating, again, within general numbers, just to have something to work with, our mega press is 200 for air and 600 for a hydrostatic. So we do have a much higher pressure capacity for water because of the compressibility of air.
Yeah, and I can talk from experience on the refrigeration side, like those design max bursts and then like what it actually can run at.
Yeah.
Because I've tiptoed that line and I find out that they're pretty spot on.
Yeah, it's very max on the.
I've maxed out some of the like other kinds of fittings and they did fail, but I was pushing that line there. So you need to stay within what the manufacturer tells you and all that.
Where's the fun in that, though? You know what I mean?
So see, that's the funny thing is like, so R&D will 110% test things to very specific limits, but they're looking for data. I am a trainer. So when we test things for their limits, we are testing them to see what happens when it gets broken.
Yeah.
That's way more fun. I don't have to worry nearly as much about the data.
You got free reign.
Also just like, nice. This one lasted a long time.
See this?
The notes are completely different. Mine's on like cardboard with a Sharpie and like, just scratch pad, like describing exactly what happened. And theirs is like in Excel somewhere.
Yeah, just sheets upon sheets. And you're like, dude, come on. You know what I mean? Like we can write this.
Safety's still important though. I keep my glasses on, so at least it's safe.
Are those Z87 plus rated?
No. Warby Parker.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely. He's like close enough, from what I understand. So from what you're seeing or other contractors out on the job site, what are they asking for the most?
So I don't know how familiar folks are with our branch connectors. A branch connector is our answer to an OLED. We can't call it OLED because that's a licensed name, even though a press OLED is a beautiful name. We can't use that. But our branch connectors are basically how you can put a tap into low pressure steam, water lines for VAVs. There's a couple of different usages for that one. But the one usage that we don't have yet is one for gas.
Okay.
And I would say that what happens in my workshop is if somebody comes through and they see that, they're like, wow, that's awesome. I love branch connectors. If you want to visit us at our booth, we have branch connectors set up. And they're a cool concept that cuts down a whole lot of time when you're doing a tap, but we don't have one for gas. And that's the thing that I get requested the most. And the reason that we don't have one, it has a lot to do with I guess if not marketability, then a lot of testing needs to be done on these things. So every single one of our fittings that gets utilized for gas has to go through an immense amount of intense testing so that we know it's safe in circumstances like a fire or some kind of dangerous situation that may occur naturally. So those will not necessarily stand the test of that until they start doing really intense testing or changes to it. So as far as like when that's coming out, that's another one of those fun things that they're like, hey, trainer, you're not allowed to know that because you'll just go tell everybody on a podcast.
Well, hey, the mics are off, bro. You can just say what you got to say. Nobody's even here. Let's put your blinders on. What you got?
Do you want to talk about like the press technology in itself, like the adoption rate and how I think it's a lot of pushback on press in general.
There is.
And there was more plumbing. You're used to seeing like, push fittings or press fittings, and now we're seeing it in refrigeration. So from your perspective, what's fueling the move forward to more press and out in the field?
I would say that the two things that are probably dragging folks towards press the most, and I say dragging with purpose because typically someone tries it and loves it and continues using it, or they don't like it at all and they don't want to use it, and then they end up using it eventually anyway because of the convenience of it. But the two things that I hear the most come down to availability of good help and time, because the reality is our system will be more expensive than your traditional methods, like across the board. It's just, it's going to cost more. The upfront cost for tooling, the upfront cost for the parts, those things will cost more. But the reality is the most expensive thing on any workman's truck is not the tools, it's not the parts, it's the guy driving the truck.
Facts.
It's his labor. So if I can take what would typically be a 1 week's worth of work and turn it into a 2 days worth of work, what are you doing with the rest of your week? So trying to save people on the time is a huge one that I hear a lot of. The help is just because of the approachability of press. As it stands, there's not as big of a growth in youth getting into any trade, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical, carpentry. There's just not that big of a push in schools to do that.
Yeah.
There's still a pretty heavy focus in going into school, right? As somebody that did go to college and then went into the trade and fell in love with the trade and stayed with it for a long time, I have a different perspective on that stuff. So what I tend to see from guys is I like press because I can teach a guy how to mega press today and he can pro press tomorrow. Or I could teach him how to pure flow today and he can pro press tomorrow and mega press the day after. There's a lot more focus then on the efficacy of the trade. You get to showcase how, talented you are in knowledge of the trades and focus less on the piping application.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that you're attaching things is kind of, it's important, obviously, whatever you're using to join, but like if you can teach somebody how to plumb or how to do HVAC or how to do anything properly, I'm just giving them the tool to make the joining methods slightly easier, and they can always learn the traditional methods later. But I still think that's important.
Oh, yeah.
So you would say start with the traditional methods or just jump to the new world way of doing things? This is kind of like for
it's a hot topic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like in our world, right? It's like all right, to use analog gauges, teaching these guys how to use compound gauges to read refrigerant, or just go straight to fucking probes, dude. You know what I mean? So would you suggest, hey, let's just start soldering and brazing now, or just jump right to the press?
So the Viega in me wants to say press, but the plumber in me wants to say traditional.
Great call.
So I worked with a company that came through for a training who I think had the best possible setup for how they do their initial training, but they had a very regimented training setup for all of their new guys. Like they would absolutely turn away people with experience because they'd rather have somebody that had the right heart, the right head, and then the ability to learn, and then they'll turn out exactly what they need.
Yep.
So what they were doing as a company was they were focusing in on teaching them the way that they should plumb properly, but then also making them know the old ways of doing things, the traditional methods. So they had to learn to thread, they had to learn to solder.
Yep.
And when they figured out how to do those things effectively enough that they could be sent to a job site and do it on their own, then they got pressed.
Yeah.
But they didn't know they were getting the press.
Oh, okay.
So then they get the press and they're excited, and then suddenly confidence is through the roof because they know how to do the trade a little bit more, right? They're more experienced.
Yeah.
They know how to fix something if they run into a situation where, hey, maybe this won't work. Maybe it's a really tight space and I can't get my press machine in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the ability to still stand on your own 2 feet and do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's giving you the efficiency that you would typically get with switching over to press.
That's the other thing about it, because I have press tools. I have a lot of battery tools, on the HVAC side where it's flaring tools, tube expansion, anything like that. But sometimes you just can't use it, right? You won't be able to use that tool. It won't fit in the spot. It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. And then you have to go back to the old school way of doing it, or whatever other tool you have in your van to do it. But you talked about learning it the old school way first. That's how I was brought up too. I went through trade school as well, and they told us straight up, you're going to learn it the hard way, the way I did it. And we're going to make you do your duct, your everything, the old school way, cutting up everything, making flares the old way, the flare block and everything. And then when you get out in the field, you can buy the tools that you want to make that easier for you. But you have these principal, core skills in place so that you can, if something goes bad, you have those skills to fall back on.
Exactly. So the 3 things that I tend to focus on with my trainings, aside from all the stuff we've already talked about, but the 3 things that tend to be the pinnacles that I focus on are going to be the versatility, the safety, and the consistency that you get with press. So being able to do things in a safer fashion makes it easier for guys in the field to continue to learn, to continue to grow. And I've got plenty of stories, which I'm sure everybody here who's ever done any field work has plenty of stories of the dumb stuff that happens.
Well, see, I will do the dumb stuff. I will not let my employees do the dumb stuff.
Oh, exactly. Like no one here's ever stood on top of a 12-foot A-frame ladder, right?
Hey.
No one's ever done that.
An ocean guy right there.
Yeah, no one's ever done that, ever.
Yes, no, agreed.
So I think about those things now. Having employees like maybe shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do as I do. Do as I say.
Yeah.
When you look up the definition for liability, it very quickly changes what you are willing to allow other people to do if you answer for them.
Man, this is true. What would you say is the number one reason there's a failure from technicians out in the field doing things inappropriately, like I say with a press or something? Would it be
user error?
For sure, it's usually user error. But what's the biggest one? Like not getting the prep right on the pipe, or getting the fitting all the way, or they're trying to press it when it's too close to a wall and they think the jaws are all the way around, but it's not, and they hit the button and
so the most common thing that you're probably going to see happen is someone didn't ream out the pipe. So whether it's Pure Flow is about the only pipe that we have. Again, it's very simple. You just cut it straight. Good job. You did it. Don't use your teeth. Straight cut. That's what you need. But if we're talking our Mega Press or our Pro Press, it's incredibly important that you ream the inside out. Now, for plumbing purposes, on the Pro Press side, copper in general, when you're prepping pipe, whether you're soldering or pro pressing, you have to take that edge out, and it's because of the turbulence that you can get in the line. You don't want turbulence in line that could damage your fixtures. So that should obviously be the first thing that someone's doing if they use pro press. But I would say that if there's ever an issue with our sealing element having like a nick in it, a scratch, it's because somebody didn't ream it out. I've also heard, and I don't know why it has gone around TikTok, but I've had young guys that come in and they tell me, well, if the pipe is clean, I don't need to clean it off.
Yeah, I love it.
That's stupid. You have to clean it off. It's one of the things that we lay down for our pipe preparation. And the reason behind that is because there's so much room for manufacturing or delivery grime to get on the outside of pipe, whether you're getting domestic or import on black iron or copper side. You need to take it down a little bit so you can run your finger over it to determine if there's any cuts, scratches, or nicks in the pipe. If you're using import, you have to do that 100% of the time. If you're using domestic, you have to do it 100% of the time. I don't care where it comes from. It could be the cleanest pipe you've ever seen in your life. You still do it. It's an extra step that doesn't add anything more than what you're already doing if you're going from the traditional to ours. So it's just an easy thing to do, and that's probably the most common things. People don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys get anything back? And I don't know if it's like for warranty or for anything else, and you get back and you kind of see what the failure was. Do you guys have that in place?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So when there is a legitimate warranty claim, they have to cut out like yay much on either side of the failed fitting. And then that fitting gets sent back to our R&D, who will do all sorts of crazy testing on it. They'll do x-rays of it. I mean,
and are they
an MRI? I really don't know.
Are they persistent that they did it right? They won't.
That's a question. That's a question for legal, not me. I am but a trainer.
That's what the legal team told you to say, ain't it? Yeah, good. That's good.
I defer to legal.
So bouncing off of that, you were in plumbing before, right?
Correct.
So you coming from the actual field, doing this stuff for in the trades, how much of real feedback do you guys partake in, like your development?
So you mean like how much of what I hear from people goes
out in the field?
All of it. Anytime someone says, I got a great idea, I want to hear what it is. Because the reality is there are lots of companies out there who do product design in this way, where it's a focus on, hey, what would make a plumber's life easier? Here's the answer. Something that we can come up with that makes a plumber's life easier. With our focus on, once again, the safety, the consistency, and the versatility of things, we try to come out with products that are not only going to make someone's life easier, but make them more efficient in their trade, and try to just cover the whole realm of different ways that we can do that. So if I have guys coming into my shop and the first thing they say is, it would be really cool if I could get that part and this functionality, that goes straight up to the top. I send that as far up the ladder as I physically can, because that's how our products get designed. Not a lot of folks know this, but like our Mega Press was 2012. That's when Mega Press became a thing. Now in 2012, the IPS concept for press work was an American idea that Germany then built.
Solid.
So like, that's the kind of thing that can happen. Like we start talking about like our transition couplings. So we've got our zero-leaded transition couplings. You can use those in potable applications if you have them with the green dot EPDM sealing element. Now that starts with somebody saying, man, it stinks using a dresser coupling to make a repair because that's impermanent. And then it ends with a press fitting that allows you to make a permanent fix. So that kind of stuff does happen. I mean, guys come in with cool ideas all the time, and Dude, I do this for a living. I love it. I love hearing people's cool ideas. Like sometimes they're a little out of left field. Like we're never going to have like Bluetooth water or anything crazy. But like at its core, there's a lot of cool products that, you know, we can come up with just based on the idea that I had enough people say, hey, it would be cool if I could do this. For sure.
And that's all we want. We want to be heard from the manufacturer. Yeah. Because we're out in the field and we have X, Y, and Z problems. How are we going to solve those?
Right.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest shortcut guys are taking? I know we were talking about prep work, right? And I see that a lot too. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, right? How long does it really take to use some Scotch Brite or Reamer, and then whatever the other side what's the tool?
The Reamer?
And chamfer. Right? That's what I was looking for, right? You know that I'm like, all right, we still got to do it.
Yeah.
Would it always be prep work? You're seeing that the failure rate is?
I mean, it's not always going to be prep work.
Yeah.
When it comes to like the manufacturing of the fittings, we have a 3 parts per million failure rate just for appearances, which means that there is something wrong with what the fitting looks like. Mm-hmm. That's it. That would function perfectly fine.
Yeah.
1 part per million.
I love that.
Yeah. It comes to something is functionally wrong with it. And those are the fittings that we catch that never leave, which means it doesn't happen very often. So as far as actual fail rates, it's very difficult to dictate what specifically that issue could be, because a lot of times it could be a new situation. Yeah. I mean, like I said, 2,500 applications, that's a lot of different applications. We're all over the place. Yeah. So like there are going to be circumstances where our fittings get used with approved media application, but maybe the environment is not something that our application would agree to. Or we have means of figuring out applications that call those things into question. But if you just happen to know, I can use it for that, but the environment is different and you don't check in with us, it's very possible that that could lead to problems as well. At the core of the prep work, it really, as silly as it is, it really comes down to, I'd say the most common thing is guys don't think that they need to ream their pipe.
Yep.
But that's the thing you deal with solder too.
I was going to say, it's still a problem. Like I was actually just showing, I'm cross-training a plumber into HVAC right now. And I'm showing, I'm like, this is basically the same shit you do. You probably don't do this either, but like, brazing, I still do the same concept. Like, and most people aren't going to show you to do this while brazing or pressing, right? They're just going to like slap that shit together, press it, boom, we're good to go. Not knowing that piece that you just cut has a little lip on it. You damage the ring, bada bing. And now our minimum failure rate or leak rate is much greater.
Correct.
And we have a whole bunch of connections because I see it a lot on brazing. People say that brazing or soldering is 10 times, 100 times better than press. And then I go out in the field. What you actually see out there is like boogers.
They look like the damn mountains out here. You know what I mean? It's just like stacked and stacked.
Yeah. It's like they probably should have just gone press because like their brazing is just much more horrible. And you see it a lot. Like you talk about reaming and deburring. I've cut open pipes and you see that they didn't deburr or anything. And, it causes issues down the line. You got leaks on braze joints. You see a lot of different issues out there. So there's different problems that you see with any application that you do, whether you braze, solder, press. It's how you prep, put it together, and your skills.
That's just that's a life thing right there too, man. Your life might suck because you just didn't prep it right,
Yeah.
Because your parents didn't prep you right, It's the same thing, We're just big pieces of copper if you think about it.
Perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the one.
And we see it with mini splits, flares, all that.
Flares, same concept.
So many failures just out in the field.
Yeah.
User error.
I mean, doing things right the first time is an integral part of learning the trade itself in general, because my thought process is, I mean, like, I'm sure every single, again, going back to everyone that's ever done any work in the field has heard the phrase from somebody they worked with, I can't see it from my house. I don't like that phrase. I think it's funny at its core, but it's not a phrase that I like, because I would rather look at it from a different perspective. If I'm doing work in somebody else's house, I have to do it as if I'm doing it in my mother's house, not my house, because in my house, I'll do it the cheapest.
Our houses are the worst. Yes.
I have other things to do with my life, but my mother is going to look at that piece of plumbing that I did for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm going to get a text or a call every other minute. I didn't do it exactly as the way it should be done. So every single house that I do it with that expectation that it's going to be done in a way that the customer is going to look at it once, I'm not bothered by this, and move on with their day. Doing the proper preparation is probably the most important thing for any trade, regardless of whether you're talking our press, anyone else's press, or traditional methods. So getting to do all of that by focusing on the trade and making it easier for someone to focus on pipe joining does nothing but set them up for a better future in the trades, because they'll have more respect for like where they've come from. They'll understand it better.
Agreed.
That's what I teach my guys. Always act like somebody's watching you, going to inspect your work, anything like that. And it'll make life easier for you just all around.
Yep. There's an engineer over your shoulder at all hours of the day.
I have guys literally over my shoulder when I'm working, so they're watching everything.
Yep.
Well, in residential, I was going to say, everybody's got cameras now, and you know, the condensers are always right there by the corner of the house. And so, like, better think twice, you know what I mean? If you did something, we're like, ah, shit, they got this whole thing recorded. We're going to be on Channel 9 News, bud. You know what I mean?
There's been HVAC companies.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, just act like, you know, there's dang, who's the guy that would pop out, like, out the thing, oh, you've been busted or something, you know what I mean?
Hanson guy?
Something. Yeah. Anyways, just think that this dude is going to, John Kionis or something, you know, what would you do? Is going to pop out behind the water heater, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do the right thing here, bud. So with the feedback, what's the number one feedback plumbers are giving you or asking in terms of the press from you guys specifically, or in general, or even as you think of yourself again as a plumber out in the field, and what's something that you would love to see?
Ooh,
yeah,
branch connectors with gas.
I hear you. Stop. Answer done.
So we have a really solid collection of things for residential up to light duty commercial. I would love to see us start getting into larger ticket sizes. I want to see us getting into some of the really cool stuff that right now we can kind of go to bat for. Like, we've got large sizes up to 4-inch, right? We've got gate valves. We've got nice check valves, nice flanges. We cover the whole range when it comes to material usage as well. Tons and tons and tons of ways that our stuff can be used up to certain points. But I want there to not be a certain point. I want there to be a, here's the next thing, and here's how we got here. Yeah. And then I want to try and find a way that we could make as much of it or more of it as American made as possible, not for any particular reason. All the product that we have is coming from the same exact focus on being as perfect as possible. But the problems that I'm hearing from a lot of guys in the field, it's always like, sadly, kind of seriously, kind of joking about the lack of product availability for very specific things. And like, we just put in this huge facility in Ohio, and we have 3 lines up and running. We're producing right around 500,000 fittings a month.
Let's go.
And that's not keeping up with demand. It is, but it isn't. We have to be better prepared to catch up with a lot of the different fittings. That I would love to see it to where we're producing, you know, all the things we possibly can here just to help with the need.
Oh, yeah. Logistics. Like, realistically, yeah. That way everything's just readily available at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really, like you said, it's like having everything domestic right here. It just makes the world, it's like, oh, I've got to wait for this board to get in for our instances, right? It's like, instead, like, you know, Samsung makes stuff in like Texas or whatever, but we're still outsourcing it. We can just get Samsung to do it right here, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Sure, it might pay the premium, but like, the customer doesn't have to wait. You ain't holding up a job site much longer just because the availability of a product's not. That's true. How long has the facility been in Ohio?
So they started in March of 24.
Okay.
We had occupancy by June of 25. We had training start August of 25. Grand opening in September, and first products went out July of that year.
Okay.
So we're right around a year and some change.
Let's go. All right. You guys hear that?
I do.
What is?
Oh, I don't know.
Who's doing the chair thing? Somebody's doing it. Oh, man.
It sounds like a swing.
You know what? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's what it is. You know, that's what happens. Oh, we're dealing with gas here, guys. Okay, you know, we could seal those. What you got?
So we talked about like some of the stuff that you know, with prep and being in the trades, stuff that to look out for. But what advice would you give somebody that's getting into, I would say, any trades, plumbing, HVAC, anything like that? You know, some younger kids, I've actually seen quite a bit here. They're pretty hungry to get into the field and you know, all that. What advice would you give to them getting into it?
Ask enough questions to piss off every old timer on the job site.
That's quick. Yeah.
Do as much of the work physically yourself as you possibly can. Never say no to any challenge, no matter how challenging it can be. Learn to read prints. That's just an easy flat one. Learn to read prints, because if you do any kind of commercial, you're going to have to. And outside of all of that, never skimp on tools. You get the right tools for the job. You get exactly what is good. You ask if somebody's got tools that are dirty and horrible looking and old, that's the tool you should buy, because it will last forever. But outside of that, I think the most important piece of advice in that whole list is ask so many questions that the old timer doesn't want you in his van anymore, because you're going to learn more if you just bother him, and he'll inevitably give up and answer your questions. Because that's what I did, and it worked great for me.
I've turned into that old man now. I have to train up some of the younger guys.
You know
You only got like 2 grays in that beard, man. You're
Hey,
good.
he does it. You should have seen him. You should have seen him this morning, brother.
Just for man.
He was brushing that thing in. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, I wish I could, you know. What do you say? Oh, he's got a great gray beard.
Salt and pepper is distinguished.
That's what I said, man. People love George Clooney. Oh,
You want to add to anything?
Oh, well, I just wanted to ask this one question about like reliability. Like people always want to enhance their reliability, right? And not suffer on the efficiency. Where would you go to not separate those walls? Does that make sense? So it's like, you know, you don't want to be too fast, but you want to be fast to make it reliable. What's that old adage? Like you can have it 3 ways: cheap, good, and fast, or fast.
Oh,
good.
yeah. Pick 2 of these. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what would you say to that when it comes to this?
So Viega is never going to cut a corner when it comes to production of a fitting that does exactly what I tell you it will do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to sit here and tell you with 100% certainty that if you follow our pipe prep guide and you do things the way that we lay them out in our trainings or in our guidebooks, you will not have any unnecessary leaks. Now, that's not to speak on our Smart Connect, which is allowing media to pass through on purpose to show an unpressed fitting.
Mm-hmm.
That is purposeful, right? So I think there's never going to be a point in time where we will ever allow for our products to dwindle in that expectation. So reliability is not going to be an issue. Our focus on efficiency is where that's going to kind of change a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because being efficient is exactly what makes this a viable switch.
Right.
If we didn't have the speed of usage and the speed at which you can learn how to do it, we're not really beating traditional method, are we? No, we're beating traditional method because your time is valuable. Like one of the biggest things I try to do for guys that come through is change that perspective. Like guys will walk in, they'll crack jokes all day about like, oh yeah, I'm just a dumb trade guy. Like you don't know what you're talking about. Every single one of those guys that's come in has done a cool job that they just did and left.
Yep.
Did and left. They did and left. They do that day in, day out. And I think they should start caring more about what they're doing because it's cool. And it like there's at least a couple people out there that think that stuff is super cool, whether they know it or not. I think it's cool. I love looking at pictures of people's work because it shows me more of the field that I might not have seen, right? So I love getting that perspective. So the reliability versus the efficiency, I don't know if that's ever really going to be a fight that Viega has to fight because we focus so heavily on the product being perfect in the first place that the efficiency, it's not a secondary thought, but it just comes naturally because of that focus on quality, because of that focus on making certain it comes out the way we tell you it will. So it's not necessarily something that I see as half the deal.
Okay. That was a great answer. That was a good answer. That was the legal team answer again. Oh, man.
I declined to respond.
Yeah, right. Like, here we go again.
I got one we can end on unless you want to fit anything else in
Oh, what do you want to end on?
about the future.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. You want to go for that?
You want to end with the future?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I think we can all kind of chip in on this one. But as far as the industry, we're here at the AHR Expo, so it's HVAC refrigeration specific. But what should techs be paying closer attention to going forward? Like, what do you think they should focus on or kind of lean into, pay more attention to?
Well, I know on your guys' side, the whole 454 has been a lot of fun to deal with.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that.
But
It's a great refrigerant.
getting away from that, I think that the most important thing to pay attention to is your time is valuable. And I said at the beginning that one of the things that we see a lot is companies who have been around for 40, 50 years are seeing a dwindling number of applications coming across their desk that are actually answering the phone. And that's just going to get worse unless we really focus on education, trying to let people know like there are viable ways to build a very good life for yourself that don't necessarily include going to a traditional college, right? There's a lot of really interesting ways that we can get the numbers of folks retiring to match the number of folks getting in, which is not happening. So as much as I would love to say something cool about the future of like the product lines and stuff, the reality is I think that getting to the nitty gritty of trying to stem the bleeding of talent is probably where the industry really needs to focus. So if y'all are out there with a lot of really good knowledge and you're not sharing it, I implore you to share everything you can.
Yeah.
Because the more that you pass that stuff on, you are not only helping businesses like ours continue to grow, but it's allowing for folks to get really well done labor, right? Like I want folks to get the kind of work that I expect for myself. And I made friends in the industry, so I know who I'm calling if I've got an HVAC problem. I got an electrician on standby, but I love the idea of everybody having that. So to get to that point, every single business that has that positive impact on bringing young blood into the industry has the position where they can grow and they can make the world better. They can do better work. And then we won't see shark bites being used in every repair. We'll see people that know how to solder, but maybe use press because they have 4 jobs more to do. And it's already like 3 jobs in a day.
Yeah.
Or they still pull the press or they pull out their solder kit because they're like, I have to fix it. I can't press it. I'm still going to fix it. Right. I have no problems in my personal opinion with companies recognizing that there will be times where press is not going to work for you in this situation. It's going to happen. Like my main competition will always be traditional. It's nobody else that makes press. It's always traditional. But the reality is, as long as somebody knows how to do it and they still pull it out and they still fix it, they don't groan and complain. They do that in the truck, but not when they're in a person's house.
That's true.
That's what I would love to see for the trades. I want to see so many people coming through for training that are like, oh, I knew that.
Yeah.
That would be amazing because it's just like, okay, sweet. So now we can get to the nitty gritty of here's what we can do with our products as opposed to this is how you clean. This is how you do this, right? Like that stuff's still important. And a lot of times you do need to have that skill kind of like retouched on. But I would love it if I could see just a whole slew of just young faces getting into the trades and loving it. Because like, that's what happened for me. I did it as like I would love to learn a trade because it's something that would help me. And maybe I'll just go back to like college stuff later. And then I ended up doing the trade for a long time.
Yeah. And you got to love what you do. So, any kids coming into it, younger people, or I've had a lot of older guys that get into it when they're 40, 50 and, they're in their first few years and they end up loving it. It is, just love what you do and build on your skills and never stop learning. No matter what trade you're in, what you do, there's my main thing for the future is like keeping up with technology, learning, anything that you can, because that's what makes you better than the previous technician or competition or any way you want to look at it is continuously learning, keeping up with tech. We got to deal with electronics now, like on a daily. And it's stuff that we never thought would be in our industry. It was all mechanical. It was all.
And I agree.
So like we never thought we had to learn that. And now we're in that age of like everything's on a board. Everything's a relay. Everything's circuitry. And that's just stuff. Programming is what we do now too, right? Like
software engineer at this point.
There's some guys that
I should have gone to college.
There's some guys that walk around with a laptop, right, to program an AC unit. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's going, and that's something that you should keep in mind. Being in this trade is you're always going to learn something. I think that makes it fun. That you're always doing something different, something new at every day, every job, and that's what I like about it. So that's what I want to end on with, the kids coming in.
100%.
Yeah.
You ended it. I'm going to take his deal, and I'm going to take my legal team answer over here and say I plead the fifth.
Do you want to end with a chant?
Yeah, you want to start?
No, I'm not going to start. But I appreciate everybody for coming out to the HVAC Knights podcast.
The who?
With our special guest DJ Viega. Very informative. Love the conversation, and love the perspective that you have from field to manufacturer.
Let's go! What's the chant? What's the chant? Turn around. Nice. See, they know it. Nice. Yes. He's contractually obligated to say that one time. Nice. Let's go. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, what do we got? Is that it? We're done. We're done? Hey, you still got 10 minutes. Get out of here, man.
You didn't pay me enough to say that.
Testo thermal imager. Yeah, now people want to take it. You gotta answer 2 questions about the podcast. Yeah, you gotta. Who's our special guest? We'll just keep it going. He's got the professional camera. First winner